Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, very much. May I ask you, Mr. Chairman, did the FCC follow the processes used by both Democrat and Republican commissions when crafting these latest net neutrality rules?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. These are tough decisions. So it's a process, though. And out of the process came a decision that I agree with. I think it's an historically correct decision, but I don't think there should be a question about whether or not you used the process that allowed all voices to be heard. And the final vote, 3-2, is based upon the totality of everything that all five of you had the opportunity to hear. 3-2. But the process gave everyone the ability to be able to hear what they needed to hear. Okay? And I think you made just the right decision. And I think you made the right decision looking at the whole history of the FCC and what you've done for our country. Back in the 1970s, you know, the CEO of Sprint, MCI, came into my office and they had less than 1% of the market. And they wanted the FCC to change the rules so you didn't have to dial 23 numbers before you dialed the number your mother made you memorize in case you're ever in a car accident. And that's what created those industries. The FCC saying, no, competition. You know, the FCC passed the rules that said, no, a cable company doesn't have to put up a separate pole down each street. You can use the telephone pole and pay a reasonable fee to do so. We don't want the whole street filled up with just poles. Huh? It was reasonable. It added to the competition. AT&T didn't want to be broken up, you know, but we all had black rotary dial phones. Your kids can't stay there forever. We're already 100 years into that era at that point. Got to move on. It's all about competition. It's all about innovation. When you did the light touch on wireless, 1993, the FCC, using Title II, it was all intended on unleashing hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars of new investment. It worked. The FCC made the right decision. You know, the agency of expertise. When we created the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh cell phone license, the reason we had to do it is the first two companies had monopolies, charging 50 cents a minute, and the phone was the size of a brick, and nobody had one. That's 1993. That's 1994. People have two devices in their pockets, but the FCC made the right decision to advance competition. That's what this is all about. The cable industry did not want AT&T and the telephone companies to get into cable. They wanted a monopoly. AT&T did not want the cable industry to be able to provide telephone service. Right? They all fought. These are big players here. Big players. And I understand it. Big players don't want little people coming in, ruining this nice little world that they have going. And even the decision you just made on municipal broadband, that's just saying to individual communities all across the country, you can provide competition. And that's a 3-2 decision here. 3-2, 3-2, 3-2. I understand. I understand the commissioners vote no. These are tough issues. There were tough issues on allowing MCI and Sprint to be born back in the 1970s. Tough decisions. Because you're taking on the monopolists. You're taking on the big companies. Okay? So we're at a crossroads here where the innovation, the investment dollars, the creativity, the content creators are not the big companies. They're thousands of little companies that all benefit from net neutrality. You got it just right. It's the heart of our economy. It's where young people want to go, of all races. It's where the venture capitalists are putting their money. And as you correctly pointed out, all these companies then reported within days after you passed this rule that it wasn't going to affect their long-term investment in their infrastructure going forward. They all said the exact same thing. But you know what else happened? All over the country, a whole bunch of people between the ages of 20 and 35 all said, this is great. I got new apps. I got new technologies. I have new services. I have new stuff. I can now reach 310 million Americans. And as soon as we do that in America and come up with the idea, then we're selling it across the world, branded, made in America. It's these new companies that make the difference. And just like Sprint and MCI, all the way through today, that's what the FCC is all about. And you're the agency of expertise. And you've used this existing framework brilliantly over the years, brilliantly. And I think you got it right again. And I think it would be ill-advised for the Congress to move in and try to be the agency of expertise when there is now a consensus that's already been built. So the largest companies that they can live with it, that they'll invest at the same pace. But the enthusiasm that comes from these smaller software and apps companies, the new internet startups, has just been overwhelming. So I just say this to put in context the whole history of how far we've come in a brief period of time. You don't have to, when a long-distance phone call comes into your house any longer, yell, hurry, hurry, it's a long-distance call. AT&T had charged $2 a minute for 100 years because they could get away with it, okay? And what we're doing here is we're not letting people get away with saying, no, there's another way of doing business. That's what net neutrality under Title II makes possible for our country. I thank you so much.
Thank the senator from Massachusetts. I assume there wasn't a question in there.
In fact, the first question was to the
That's
commissioner.
okay. You don't have to ask.
Answered, it was a leading question, but it was a question.
And Mark, the senator from Massachusetts, down is undecided on our draft bill.